Okay, great. How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This seems to happen every time. Hey, how's it doing? We're doing it again. Okay, here I think people can hear me now. Although the mic levels seem a little bit high. I don't know why this is different every time I'm going here. So here we are, and I'm already getting questions. This is going to be a Q&A session, so I'm going to try to get as many of the questions as I can here. So first of all, I see some interesting questions. When is the Kickstarter going live, and are you one of the original creators? So yes, my name is Thomas Stone, and I started Digital DNA Games. A lot of the early XBLIG games I had done just by myself. I had spent a long time in the game industry before I started being an indie, and I got together some of the most talented people that I'd ever encountered in the AAA game industry, and that's who Digital DNA Games was. And we didn't make anything for a long time, but then I got all the original people back together, the dream team, and here we are making CastleMiner Z. Everybody's loving it, and if you guys make this work for us, we'll be making games from here on out together. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen to us. Next question, which is a really good one, is when is the Kickstarter going live? We've been talking a lot about this internally, and there's an apprehension for like launching the Kickstarter because it could fail. I've talked to people in the industry about this, and they say to wait until you have like a playable demo, till like there's a point where we actually could have the beta running before we do the Kickstarter. And I can understand the value of that, so I think that is probably what we're going to do. So we were originally going to launch the Kickstarter here at the beginning of July, and I'm not sure. I think it probably will be more in the fall, hopefully. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to try to hit as many of these as you can. And I broadcasted this one out, so I'm thinking that there probably will be more people on this one than other ones. How much until the release of the rework? Yeah, we're hoping for the end of the year. I wish I could tell you a date. We don't typically plan things out like that because making games is a creative process, so you don't always know exactly how everything's going to go. It's hard to plan things from the beginning to end. It's different than making like productivity software. Is CastleMiner Z a real video game? It absolutely is. Will there be crafting stations? No, there won't. When will it be ready? Hoping for Q4 of this year. I love the appreciation. Thank you everyone for all the kind words. Will there be custom textures and model loader? I don't really know. I keep asking this with the community. Everybody wants mods, but I don't exactly know what they want, so I want to get as much information as possible before we start building in APIs or things like that for mods. So if you know specifically what you want for mods, I would love to hear it in one of the forums and whatever. Let me take a little break here for a second and just do some promotional stuff here. Yes. I'm going to pull up the website here for a second. There's a couple new things since, like, if you haven't been around for one of these streams. First of all, I'm wearing one of the merch things right now. You can, in our website, you can click our merch link. You can buy merchandise for the game. All of the money for this goes into game development. We started a Patreon, so if you want to support us outside of the Kickstarter, you can do that. Also encourage you to definitely wish list us on Steam. Please wish list us on Steam. This is like a really big deal right now. And you can sign up for the beta here on the website. That's CastleMiner Z.com. Let me just drop that in the chat. And you can find all the links there. There's also an FAQ here, which has a lot of the answers to the questions that people ask a lot. And I mean, I'll answer these, but we get a lot of the same questions, so I try to put as many as there as possible. Also, there's a link here to submit your voxel creations. We have a system where you can build things with a 3D tool and then eventually pull them into the game. So if you do this, it goes through the instructions of doing that, and maybe one of your creations will end up inside the game. Let me try to hit some of these questions. Like lost my spot. Let's see. Appreciate everybody dropping by today. Endurance mode, yeah, I think we will not drop the endurance mode. We'll keep that. Somebody asked here, this is a really good question. Somebody asked here, have you ever considered talking to the modders of the PC version? We are in, there's a really, really great Discord forum. These guys are the modders of the game, and they've been doing this for a long time. So yes, we are in contact with them. And I'm going to put a link to their Discord up there because these guys have really supported us a lot through the years. And this Discord is a completely community run Discord channel. I put the link in the chat. They've been modding the game and they've been supporting it for a really long time. So everybody should go over there and talk with them. They would be great. Can we customize our character like we used to back in the 360s days? So here's the issue with this: is that the avatar system was very easy to use with XNA, which was the tool set we used back in those days. I'm not aware of anything similar to that right now. We're looking at ways to make customizable characters within the game. Unreal actually helps with that. We're using Unreal Engine 5.6 right now. It's unlikely that we're going to ship with a character customization system because it would be almost as much work as probably making an entire game. So hopefully, if the game is received well on Steam, we'll be able to continue to do lots of things. Like, so right now, we're doing this, everybody is working for free full-time. They don't have jobs outside of this. Like, everybody is working for free. So it's a big risk for everybody involved. And we're trying to get as much done as possible with as little money as possible. All the crowdfunding that you guys have put towards us really, really helps. It, little bits of money make a big difference at this point. But if we could get to Steam and have support from the community there and some financial success, the ability for us to do more with the game would be very, very possible. So even if you're an Xbox player and you're not really interested in the Steam game, supporting it in some way, just by comments or ratings or whatever, is gets you closer to what you want. Let me see. What happened to the original CastleMiner Z? I played it a lot when I was 12. So I can tell the whole story of what happened with the original CastleMiner Z. In 2009, I think is when I started this. I started making indie games for the Xbox 360 when the XBLIG system, Xbox Live Indie Game System came out. And I made a bunch of games myself, and eventually Avatar Paintball, I think, was the game that I made that was probably the last game that I made completely by myself. And then I started roping in other people, like John was one of the first people that came on. And we made the first CastleMiner game and CastleMiner Z, and CastleMiner Z took off. CastleMiner Z was the best-selling game on that system until the day it closed in 2015, night over night daily sales. We tried to get onto Steam. Steam put up some resistance to that, and eventually we got through on Steam Greenlight years later. When we launched on Steam, there was a lot of criticism. We tried to address it. And the overall sentiment didn't really seem to change there very much, and we went on to make other things. During that time period, we had a company that was involved in doing updates for CastleMiner Z, and eventually we stopped that. A lot of the updates they made, it was a great team. They were doing good stuff. I just, like, from a design point of view, didn't agree with a lot of it. So when we're revisiting CastleMiner Z, I'm trying to go back to the original Xbox roots and deliver the game that I kind of wanted to make originally. So the release of CastleMiner on the CastleMiner Resurrection will be like a redone version of the Xbox version. Will we be adding more bosses other than the dragons and the devil? Yes, I have a lot of plans for that. Don't usually talk about stuff unless it's real. Like, I don't talk about things that I might do. I always talk about things that have been done already. How are the wish list numbers looking? They are looking promising. You guys have done a good job there. There's a number that we would like to see in our head before we release, and we're probably like 20 or 30% to the way there. But it was enough to get attention of publishers. So I already had a publisher reach out to me based on our wish list numbers. So thank you for everyone for doing that. It doesn't cost anything to wish list the game. Just if you're interested, wish list the game. Oh, the other thing too is that the Kickstarter, eventually we're going to do a Kickstarter. And there is the link to it up here. And if you can click the Kickstarter and click notify me on launch, this is a helpful thing for us. If you could, it doesn't obligate you to anything, just lets you know that the thing is like, a lot of this is what we'd like to know is how many people are actually interested in the game, how many people would support us. In fact, since this is right here, I'll drop this in the chat too. Okay. I have to find, now that I dropped that link, and I have to find my chat again. Somebody asked, okay, will the original CastleMiner Z be open sourced? I thought about this. Depending on how the release of the CastleMiner Z Resurrection goes, I've thought about opening up the original source code to the community. There's a lot of things to consider inside there, so it's kind of a big project. I would need resources to do it. But when it's going to come out on Steam, I hope at the end of the year. What's the biggest issue you have with the original game? The biggest issue we have with the original game right now is that it was written in XNA, which is a platform that Microsoft no longer supports and isn't cross-platform compatible. So it's been the biggest problem that we've had, is that doing anything with the game would require us to completely rewrite it. And it's one of the things that stopped us from doing anything for a really long period of time. So the plan here was to rewrite the game in a modern game engine that would let us hit all of the platforms at once: PC, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. So that's what we're doing. And then we picked Unreal because of its rendering technology that was far better than Unity. I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of Unity. We did some big games in Unity, and They were always nightmarish experiences. I have a lot of opinions about that. So it's interesting to do a game in Unreal Engine, which seems like a more mature game engine. Okay. Is there going to be player-to-player teleporting? Not sure yet. We're working through a lot of the design of the game, and we have a really, really good designer that's on the team right now, so I'm going to kind of defer to him on some of the more mechanical game design stuff. Somebody's asking, CastleMiner, how far is hell if you go in a straight line? Oh, God, I don't remember the original numbers, but I made it way longer. I think the original game, it was like 5,000 meters. And I think now it's like 8 or 9. It's a little bit further. Well, it's almost like double the distance. But I think it was like 4,000, 5,000 meters before. Somebody said, how much has the budget increased since we've taken in donations and Patreon? Honestly, it hasn't changed. The numbers that are so far, I really appreciate everybody's generous donations, but right now the amount of donations are like not enough to like make a difference for us. We would definitely need more support for that. As a general number, like, I don't think people realize how expensive games are to make, and you have to be very, very creative to figure out ways to make them less expensive. I think the zombie, I don't want to throw out a number here, it was like $6,000 or $7,000, for example, to get made, and we got a deal for, from the guy making it. Right now our Patreon, I think, is at like $300 a month or something like that. So you realize that the Patreon would have to run for 20 months, like a year and a half, just to pay for that one zombie to make up. So a lot of this money is coming out of our pockets right now. So any sort of support that you guys could give us goes a long way. But we have to make very, very specific decisions about what we're making and what we're using. The thing I keep saying at this point is that every dollar and every hour counts, is very important to us. So when people say, like, why don't you just do this or why don't you just do that, it's the problem is that there's a trade-off. Like, if I do this, I have to take away something else. There's a lot of support from the people in the audience, which I really appreciate. Hold on a second, I'm getting... Yes, yeah, a lot of people are very concerned here about the old version of the game. As much as I'm all for preserving stuff for history, the whole purpose of doing this project is to sort of revitalize the project as a whole, to start over and give ourselves a platform where we can more easily maintain stuff. Like, one of the things that that's difficult for us is just updating that old game is virtually impossible for us. Like, you need tools from 2010 to build and install the game, and a lot of people in the community have done work for us on the games, but the problem is that we need to I ultimately need to be responsible for everything that gets released. So even if the community does work for us, I have to vet that in detail and make sure that it isn't going to cause problems. And one of the things that I was really worried about doing is if we released an update for the game and we broke everybody, that would be a big distraction for us that we would have to deal with. All of this takes away from making the new game. Like I said, every hour and every dollar counts for towards the new, is important to us. So if we spend, time making things to the old game, which we're ultimately not going to support, it's just a waste of time for us, and it's a waste of time that is, very, very crucial to us. Everybody on the team needs this to, needs the game to ship. Like they need, it's important for us to get this done. Everybody is sort of putting their life on hold for this, and there's big repercussions for everybody involved. So it's everybody needs this to work. So we can't just kind of waste our time on things that aren't going to make a lot of difference. How much will it be on release? Every time I'm assuming that this means how much is the game going to cost on release. Every time that I get this question, I try to put it back on the community. What would you pay for the game? At this point, collecting all of the information I got out there, I'm thinking I'm going to go out for $20. And I kind of would like to hear feedback on that. But it seems to be sort of the consensus of what everybody has said, the range of different things and what the value proposition is. Now, I don't want to be quoted on that because it might change by the time that we actually ship. It'd be interesting to see. Every day we're making new decisions about what we're shipping. And in fact, this is something I can show off here. Our artist Heinz this week made some test renders for us, and let me put this up on the screen here. We are thinking about adjusting the lighting of the game. And this was one of the test renders that we did. And I actually like this a lot. I think the game will end up looking sort of like this in the end. There's a lot of changes here compared to the lighting of where we were coming from. But, he went and made a bunch of these changes. And when I look at this, I have to consider, how the day and the night transitions will look and things like that. But this is sort of a major change to the overall look of the game, and I think it's going to end up being what the game looks like in the end. Let me pull this off screen here and bring up another one. Here is another alternate lighting scenario that we were looking at. This screenshot has never been released, so you're seeing, everybody here is seeing this for the first time ever. I think there's different scenarios where this type of lighting would work out. I really love what Unreal does. You get a really good shot of the zombie here. But this is a good example of something that is a radical departure from what we have been showing right now. So there is a scenario where we get a lot of financial support from the community, and we end up making a game that's much, much bigger and more involved. I know that our designer has a lot of plans for, sort of really going deep on the mechanics of the game, and it's stuff I would love to do if I had the opportunity to. So, I guess there is a scenario where if we got a lot of crowd support, we could make something that was completely different from, much bigger and deeper version of what we would like. I would love to do that. I've always said in the past that my original vision for the game was like a 3D Terraria, a game where you explored a world. There was lots of different monsters. Each monsters gave you items that you could craft into other things. Like a game where the progression is all about mining and building things and exploring the world. The world in CastleMiner Z now is way, way bigger than it was before. Before things would start getting weird around 50,000 blocks. Now I've been out to 2 million blocks without having any trouble. And if you actually do the math, it ends up being something like 3 times the surface area of the Earth, in real scale. So if you were walking around the Earth, by yourself, like that's how it would take. I actually had to do something special for Lantern Land. I just got that done because, Lantern Land, it's an interesting story there, had to do with a bug in the game that had to do with the way that the world was rendered. I feel like my mic is a little bit hot here. Let's see if I could just pull this down a little bit. Maybe that's better. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Anyways, but the thing is, Unreal Engine can handle the game out at 40,000 meters with no problem. So we had to build something specific out into that space. The other thing, I'm trying to pull this up. Because of this, I wanted to take advantage of this, and I made the world itself like huge. And I structured it in a way where it's a little bit more interesting. I'm trying to pull up a image of this, and I did this in one of the other streams, and I think I'm going to finish it in another dev stream. The world used to be a set of concentric rings. So once you got out to hell at like 5,000 meters, it would just kind of repeat the biomes like a big bullseye. And I changed this into this hexagonal system. So each circle here would represent an entire CastleMiner Z world, where you start at the tower and you move out to hell. But instead what happens is now as you enter any direction you go, you enter into another world where the rings go back and there's another tower in the center. So there's essentially like infinite towers now all over the world, and they all look a little bit different from each other, which was a side effect of the math, but was a kind of a cool thing. It ends up being this hexagonal grid system, which is something that's fairly common in video games. But the world is really big now, and now I'm trying to figure out something to do with this, because you can really go out and explore like entire connected worlds. So the worlds are structured in a way where there's more places to inherently explore. Okay, let's make it through some more questions. I'm kind of falling behind here. Is there going to be vehicles? Not on the initial ship of the game, but I would love to have vehicles. I'd love to have you ride dragons. That would be super cool. But no, I don't think we're going to ship with any vehicles. Somebody's asking what the number of Steam wish lists are right now. I think we just crossed over 20,000. We would like to see 100,000 before we would release. So if you want the game and you're interested, please wishlist it. Like it's a way for you to tell us that we should continue working on the game or do more with it. Will there be a voice chat feature? Yes, there will most likely be proximity voice chat. Do you still have your old Xbox 360 XDK? I do. So when you were releasing games back on those days in the Xbox indie games, you didn't need a XDK. You used retail Xboxes for that, and I used to have I think I had like 5 of them at one point for doing this type of work. Microsoft, when they started their indie program for the Xbox One, sent me some XDKs, and I have them in a box, and I don't think I've ever opened them. And I don't know if they would be useful for this sort of work, but if we end up with a TLA, a title license agreement with Xbox to do this is an important thing I guess we should address here. They would give us XDKs, but the way that it works for Xbox is that you ask Microsoft if you can release a game, and they either decide if you can. It's 100% up to them. We have never shipped a game through Microsoft's official indie system that they established on the Xbox One. And I'm actually a little bit nervous that they're not going to let us. But I guess I should let that be up to them instead of like projecting my past stuff with them onto them. There's a kind of a sordid history I have with Microsoft. I feel like they're not our biggest fans. But the Xbox Live indie games didn't require that. You could just ship whatever you wanted to. And I know there was a little bit of friction with us shipping a game that was so similar to Minecraft on there. So hopefully, all the people asking for will there be an Xbox version of the game, it will be really up to Microsoft to allow that to happen. Our doing this in Unreal Engine allows us to make the game in a way where it'll work across everything. So we just have to have Microsoft's approval to do it. It should be fairly easy if we do. Favorite block. Somebody asked what my favorite block is. And I can't pick the lantern because there's a whole backstory with the lantern and why it's a part of our branding. But God, I don't know. Like this, it would be like, I think maybe the alien slime. I kind of always liked I thought that was like a neat addition to the game. Yeah, a lot of people are criticizing XNA here. I'm kind of catching up with the questions in the chat. Somebody said, "Love CastleMiner Z. Will the game be updated to compete with other games at today's levels?" Yeah, hopefully. A lot of this has to do with you. This has to do with your support for the game. Like, there's 4 of us working on this game full time, and we're not working on any other thing or at jobs. So, if the game is supported enough where we can continue to do this, this is what everybody wants to do. So we will continue to do it as long as it makes sense. If the game doesn't get the support that it needs, then it's kind of impossible for us to do this, and it's sad for everybody involved. Oh, I see a donation. I'm just catching up with this stuff. I see a donation. Thank you very much for the donations. All the donations here go to the development of the game, so I appreciate it. Somebody's asking again if we were planning on porting the original CastleMiner game over to the PC. I have no plans. I'm really shocked that everybody wants the original CastleMiner game. I think it's more likely we would put in like a game mode in the Resurrection that was like the original CastleMiner. I couldn't imagine shipping the original CastleMiner game. And we're definitely not going to port it. We would, if anything, we would recreate it in the Resurrection thing. Will there be custom dedicated servers? I just don't know. Like, we're trying to figure out how the server stuff works now. Somebody had made a comment here about Unity games are so much worse than similar Unreal games. It's totally true. I've used both engines now I feel like I have to at least ship a game on Unreal to really, really make a true unbiased comment about this. But so far, it is such a big difference between Unreal and Unity. Unity is definitely easier to make games. It's definitely an easier engine to work with, but Unreal feels like a real game engine. And I have this theory about this because Unreal Engine was built to make AAA games. Like, it was like AAA games developers that were giving you the tools that they were using to make a game. Where Unreal was built as like an engine to make games, like not by people who actually make games, but by people who are kind of that's what it feels like. People who are imagining how games are made. And when I've used Unity in the past, I've run into problems with every single system that they've had. And especially if you try to combine those systems together, which tells me that there aren't people at Unity that are making cohesive products using all of their stuff. They're just like making one-off things and that nobody ever sees if they go together. And I could tell you story after story about the disappointing experiences with Unity where things just work poorly. John, the technical guy on our team, worked for Unity for several years, and So I mean, his perspective, and then he worked professionally making Unreal games, so he has a really, really great perspective on this, and a lot of sort of like the inside information about why things don't work the way they're supposed to in Unity. But building Death Toll, we built Death Toll in Unity. Death Toll was a giant multiplayer open world game. It was a nightmare. We ran into problems in almost every aspect of using Unity. Savage Lands was another one that we made in Unity. It was a nightmare doing everything in Savage Lands. Like there was compromises we had to make everywhere. So we going from making your own engines. John and I have experience in the industry, like building AAA game engines, and then being forced to use somebody's like subpar game engine when you had your own already. All of our games like CastleMiner Z were built on our own game engine. Is very, very frustrating experience. Like, for example, I spent, on Death Toll, I spent something like 3 or 4 months trying to get the animation system in Unity to work for us. And it was frustrating because I think in my engine, I wrote the animation system in like a week and a half, and we never needed to modify it after that. It was like a perfectly useful thing for everything we ever did in our games. It was simple, it was performant, it was very, very easy to use. And struggling to use Unity's like game, like I could have rewritten an entire animation engine in the time that I was learning how to use it. And what I was, when I went and tried to ask the Unity people about these problems, they were kind of like not aware of the problems. Until like I showed them like, hey, this doesn't work. Like you combine this and this doesn't work, or you have a game with 50 different weapons and it becomes like. And then what they did is they introduced a new animation system after that. Like it's ridiculous. Is that Unity, after I think we were using Unity version 3 or 4 at that point, that after 4 iterations of their project, they haven't stabilized the way that they did animation. There seems to be this effort to try to make game development more accessible to people, but at the same time compromising the usefulness of the engine as a whole. Our engine, the one that we used to make our games, was built with a very specific purpose. Every game engine seems to be built with a purpose. And our purpose of our game engine was being able to develop games as fast as possible. So doing everything in a way where we could bring a product to fruition in as fast as possible. And I think CastleMiner Z is a really good example of this. Like we had started with the original CastleMiner, but I think it was less than 2 months. I think we went and put CastleMiner Z together in less than 2 months. A lot of that had to do with pieces of games that we were using from other games, but our game engine was great. Unity was a nightmare to work with. Unreal seems to be put together really well. Like really, really well. Like every time I come to a piece of Unreal that I'm using, I go like, oh wow, like this was the absolute right way to implement this. So like whoever did this really knew what they were doing, and they knew all the side effects and how everything would work with everything. But it's also extraordinarily complicated, and John is the only one on the team right now that really understands Unreal Engine. So there's a struggle for us to learn it. But it's one of these things that when we learn it, it's like obviously they're put together in the right way. God, I am so far behind on questions here. I'm thinking about, let me make sure I didn't miss any donations, which I did several. Okay, the favorite block question. This is so overwhelming. Wow, okay, I'm going to start working through these in reverse order, I think, is the way to go through these. A lot of people asking again at the release time. Somebody is asking what game engine we're building this on right now. I kind of just went through that. It's Unreal Engine 5.6. Yeah, somebody here is talking about how they feel like Unity got worse over the years. My feeling, I can bag on Unity all day here. Not a big fan of it. the feeling I got about Unity. Oh, somebody wants to send the Patreon link over here. Let me do that before I get into this. I would love to just go on a Unity bitch fest. I could just do this all day long. I just put a link to the Patreon in the chat. My feeling about Unreal or Unity was that it was set up specifically to make iPhone games. That somebody saw the Mac as like an underserved platform and came up with and built this technology specifically to service the upcoming sort of like iPhone App Store thing. And I can tell you one thing, it's definitely not set up for like high-end, high fidelity games. Like it's a real stretch for the engine. Like it is not the engine's primary function to develop. It's like a mobile game engine that if you do a bunch of crazy stuff, you can get something that's close to like a AAA game out of. Like it's a real stretch for it. And that's one of the experiences that we have, is that if you took any system in the game and you stretched it to like full capacity, it would fail. So one of the best stories I have about this is when we were doing Death Toll. I don't remember exactly how big the world was, but we were using SpeedTree for the trees, because this is like, if you look at a Unity demo, they're like, here's SpeedTree is this technology that makes really cool animated trees basically. And if you looked at any of these demos that Unity put out, they would show these SpeedTree things, but they would show like 1 or 2 trees. So we had a world with like 10,000 trees on it. And when it all came up and started running, it just didn't work. And there was a bunch of technical reasons why it could never work. So we, in the end of the thing, had to pull the SpeedTree. Like one of the last things we had to do before shipping was pull all the SpeedTrees off the map. And what we realized is that nobody in Unity had made a game with a lot of SpeedTrees in it. So if you had a game that had a dense forest, you couldn't use their tree system, and everything was kind of like that. We had a whole nother thing with that with the physics system in Unity, is that we tried to Death Toll was a game with vehicles that you could drive around in, and what we found out was that you just couldn't do network physics. Is that the way that network physics typically happens is if two things collide with each other, you go into the physics system and you roll back time to figure out when the collision happened, and then you resolve everything based on the network latency. And Unity did not have the feature. They used an external third-party physics package, but they didn't expose the features to you to be able to roll back time, which meant that you actually couldn't make a 3D physics game unless you completely removed all the physics in Unity. And then you saw a lot of the external solutions. There wasn't many at the time, but all the external solutions for this had completely replaced Unity's physics system, because Unity's physics system was not capable of making network games at the time. And this is a good example of where Unity would make a demo that showed networking and make a demo that showed physics, but would not do one that did both, because it couldn't do both at the same time. The way I've had this described to me is that Unity is an engine that's built to sell more engine licenses, not necessarily to make games. Let me work back through the. I'm getting sort of overwhelmed with the stuff. I want to make sure I get as many of your questions. Everyone's asking about the release of the game. Man, I wish I knew. I wish I had the release date of the game. That would make everybody feel. Somebody's asking on X here is if there's a YouTube stream link. I'm streaming to X right now. I'm getting all your comments. So I released a link earlier in the day. I don't want to have to pull that up right now. I'm trying to simultaneously stream through a lot of them. Oh, huge thing. God, I totally forgot about this. We hit 8,000 subscribers on YouTube. this is such a big deal. YouTube is one of the places where we actually get revenue. So I appreciate that. I want to pull this up on the screen just to show this off. But that's a big milestone. Like I appreciate all of you doing this. But if you if you go to our channel, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. This is like I put a link to the channel down in the chat. Like if you haven't done this already, I know there's a lot of people here from. Somebody's asking if this is pre-recorded. No, this is live. We're doing it right now. If you can, I sent a link to the channel. Subscribe to us if you're not already. This lets us know that you are interested. But I appreciate this. 8,000 subscribers, big milestone. Somebody asked, are we planning anything for 10,000 subs? And I don't know. Like, is that something that we would... I'd love to have suggestions about this. Somebody just asked, are we streaming on TikTok too? We are streaming on TikTok right now, but you know what? Because of the way that Restream works, I'm not getting comments from TikTok, and I should probably go over there and make sure that I'm getting those too. So give me a second here to pop up because I have completely been ignoring these people. Yeah, it looks like we got about another 1,000 viewers or so on TikTok. I'm also getting a bitrate warning, which I probably should address too. I don't know if I could do this during the stream. I need like a tech person that does this for me. But let me make sure I'm hitting the. I got the TikTok thing up. Will it come to PlayStation? Is a question from TikTok. Will it come to PlayStation? Again, if the game is supported on Steam, we'll have the resources to bring it to each PlayStation. Sony has been very easy for us to work with in the past. I've never shipped anything on Sony, but they've always wanted to work with us. So the odds of us going to PlayStation, I think, are good if the game is supported on the Xbox. But one of the reasons that we're doing this in Unreal is so that we can go to all these different platforms. Somebody asked here, what was Microsoft's cut for each sale made through the Xbox Arcade System? First of all, we didn't ship through Xbox Arcade System. We shipped through Xbox Live Indie games. Their cut was 30%. I think that's pretty standard across everything. I've never seen a platform that is significantly different than that. Somebody's asking here if we get camos for the guns. This is a TikTok question. We can. I think I would like to do a lot with customizing the guns. I just don't know if that's gonna happen. Somebody says, "Wait, are you part of the team?" I am Digital DNA. There's 4 of us. I am the founder of the company, so I'm not just some rando talking about the game. I am the founder of the company. A lot of the games we did, I did by myself. I am an old school OG game developer. Let's see. Let me keep going through here. God, I really hope I'm not missing, especially if you guys have donated money. I'm really not missing any of your questions, except there's a lot more people on this stream than there usually is, which is really great. Just want to make sure I'm not screwing this up. I'm getting like a warning about bitrate here. Is everybody from the different streams seeing this clearly? Like I'm worried that I'm actually Yeah, so okay, so let's see. Why was CastleMiner on the Xbox 360 so laggy? Thank you very much for that. We were pushing the Xbox 360 as far as it could possibly go. We were using all the threads, all the resources, and XBLIG was a hamstrung system anyways. It wasn't capable of doing all the things the 360 could do. So we were constantly working on making CastleMiner Z work as good as possible while still giving you as much as possible with it. I actually think it ran pretty good. Like, I don't really remember it, being super laggy mess. Somebody at TikTok said, "Hey, let's show you the game in Unreal." Let's take a little break here. I got the thing up, and let's just run the game a little bit. I think if there's a lot of people on TikTok that have probably never seen it. Let me make sure that I'm running here. But here we go. So this is the game. Like we said earlier in the stream, the lighting won't necessarily look like this. This is just sort of temporary stuff. I usually we have the ability to add different weather and lighting conditions to the game. I have this set up to be this super bright thing right now, just for testing. It's just easier to see things. Let's go back to partly cloudy. We have dynamite in the game so far. Let's walk out and see this. These are kind of some of the newer features to it. Let's see if they do take splash damage. Wow. Okay. We got our zombies here. These are the new zombies. Put some sound back in so you can hear it. Let's go. What we could do here is go underground and do some underground exploring. The cave systems in the new game are way, way deeper than they were before. Let me just turn off the light and get a torch just to look more representative. The world is about twice as deep as before. There's lava that lights up the underground. It's a good place to spawn a couple zombies. This is the laser rifle. Laser rifle's cool because it heats these blocks up and then they explode into these hot pieces. Let's go a little deeper underground here. Some cool underground lava flows. And you can see we're going deeper. We ended up, there's a different type of rock as we get deeper. Some ores. Realize that a lot of people have probably never seen it. And we're underground in hell here. Here's the new hell. Looks a little bit different than before. We did a bunch of streams where we built stalactites in the lava. I think what's cool about this is I think every part of this was done on streams. Like we redid the topology of this. We got the lava. We did the ground lava in another stream. If you go back in some of our old lives, you can watch us putting all of this together. You pop up from underground here. The caves are much more complicated than they were before. There's big voids and twisty little fissures in the caves, where the caves in the original CastleMiner were pretty straightforward. Let me teleport out to like 3,000. Here we're out in the mountains. There was a lot of work done to the biomes. And if we sit up here, we'll get a nice sunset eventually. I'll just let this sit while I answer the questions on the stream. Oops. Yeah. We got archers into the game recently. We're seeing a nice sunset over here. But they're not completely done yet. I don't really want to show them off. One of the things I'm also going to have is I'm going to have a race of aliens that shoot back at you with lasers. Oh, I put glow sticks in the game. I thought this was one of the things I always wanted originally, is to be able to, judge the depth of places by throwing glow sticks down. So, we're like halfway there. We're still still doing a lot with the networking on the game. Networking on this game is kind of a challenge. We're still doing a lot with the networking and still kind of deciding where everything's going to go. Taking all your feedback. There's a lot of, you can give us feedback in one of the various forums. You can link on the website. And it's a lot further down than it looks. It's funny. I think we're going to I kind of want it to be in the Arctic in the daytime. Worked a lot in the transitions of the different zones. We did a lot of these on the streams. I'm going to sit out here until the sun comes up. But it's getting there. It's getting there. It's getting there. Let me catch up with the questions in the stream. Is the submachine gun still in progress? Yes, it is. We will have the original weapons in the game. Somebody's talking here about the hip fire accuracy. It's something we haven't tuned or taken a look at yet. Is there any mod support? We talked about this already. I need to kind of hear your input on what you would like for mods before we go and make mod support. CastleMiner Z, I need you. It's really great. Any new updates today? Yeah, there's a couple new. I think the biggest things we have here is we're looking at the archers and which I don't want to show off in the stream because right now the archers aren't. They're kind of stubbed in. Somebody said here Unity is really good for learning dev stuff. It's true. Anytime somebody says they want to get into game development, the first thing I tell them to do is to download Unity and go through the tutorials, because it is a very easy game engine to use. You can make real stuff that you could easily sell. You can easily make a sellable product in Unity. It's a great place to learn. It's definitely easier to make games in Unity. When you're starting to sort of push the envelope of game development, it's not the best place to be. Let's see. If I'm missing donations here, I really appreciate this. I'm trying to monitor. There's a lot of stuff going on in the streams here, and I'm simultaneously streaming to multiple places. I see that somebody here made a $10 donations. Thank you very much, first of all. Some buddies and I are getting into game development and haven't fully committed to an engine yet. So would you say Unity wouldn't be the best choice for the group just starting out? I think if you're all starting out, I think Unity probably is a good choice to use. The question I guess I would have is, what do you want to make? And what you should do is pick something to make that the engine makes well. The criticism that everybody gave to me after making Savage Lands, where we ran into a lot of these things, is that Unity wasn't made for that type of game, which could be fair or true. It would have been nice knowing that going into that. For example, Unreal Engine, especially in their last update, came out with a lot of things specifically for making big open world games. Unity, it was a challenge. It was always a challenge to do big open world games in Unity, especially if they were network. going through these. Somebody asked, what was the last game that you made and released? It actually wasn't Death Toll. It was DNA Zombies. You could probably find it on our YouTube channel. Let me see if I could find a... we could watch the... I made this game by myself as we were shipping Death Toll. And I thought it would be a fun like, I can't even find it. This is funny. Here we go. I could do like my own reaction video here. I made this little zombie game that was supposed to be sort of like a party game where you walked around in this procedurally generated world with a couple different classes of characters and like moved from safe room to safe room. I wish I would have liked to do more with it, but there was a lot of stuff going on in my life at the time period, and like I never really did more. But this was actually the last game we made. The one that we made as a team before this was Death Toll. Death Toll was I still like a passion project of mine. I think it was a cool game. It wasn't received very well. Let me make sure I'm not missing any donations as I go here. I want to make sure if somebody made a donation that they're getting their question answered. And again, I'm not trying not to ignore anyone, but I got there's more people on this stream than are usually there. And let me just make sure that I hit the TikTok people. So anyways, yeah, this was technically the last game that I made before our big hiatus. Let me make sure I'm answering TikTok questions. Please tell me there's still dragons in the game. Yes, absolutely. A lot of people saying thank you for CastleMiner Z. When is it coming out? Q4. 2025, hopefully. Is it coming to Xbox? If it gets we're getting a lot of the questions. If it gets the support that we would, if it gets support on Steam. And again, if you're coming late to the stream, please go to our website. Let me bring it up again. And oh, that was the one that I should be using. Okay. Go to our website, CastleMinerZ.com. I'm going to put the link in the chat one more time. And I'm going to wishlist, please. Steam wishlist the game. That would be the best thing ever. If you want to sign up for the beta, you can do that too. We usually do beta handouts in the order that they come in. Of course, if you support us on one of the various things such as Patreon or Kickstarter, you'll most likely get beta access. Definitely priority. I think we have it set up, the tiers on Patreon are like you can either get priority beta access, which means you'll go to the front of the list, or you'll get absolute beta access, which means that you'll get the beta access no matter what. Definitely you could Steam wishlist, beta, Patreon, Kickstarter. Hate being that guy, but it really makes a difference for us now. We don't have a publisher. We are legit indie, so we're not in anybody's pocket except yours. So any support that you give us makes a huge difference. So let's see Somebody said here they want to do videos for the beta. I think we would like if you guys do videos. Somebody's asking here if you could let us post images in the supporter chat. Yeah, we've had issues with the channel before, but I can open that up. I was actually thinking about doing that myself. How's development going? Good so far. Slower than I would have anticipated, but it's going. Let's see. Somebody's saying here. I gotta back up. Oh, DNA Zombies was on the Xbox. It was on Xbox One. Xbox One had like a free. It was kind of like XBLIG Marketplace, and you could play it over there. I wanted to bring it to Steam. I actually had gotten all ready to do that, but I wasn't really sure that in the state that it was in, that it would be an interesting game to play on Steam. It needed like a bigger objective. Will we be allowing people to rent servers? It's possible. I don't know yet how our network is going to work. Will Orland be back? We always called this the Descent with the floating meteors in it too. Yes, it will be. It's a lot bigger though now because the world is twice as deep, so it's like twice as long. And this is coming back to Xbox One, hopefully. If you guys support us on Steam, it will be easy for us to bring this on Xbox One. Not just the revenue. I have to make that clear. It's not just that the revenue from Xbox Steam will allow us to do the port to Xbox One, but the other thing is Microsoft itself. Like if the game is very, very successful on Steam, it's a really hard argument to not allow it to be on your platform. You know, like if you've done really, really well on one platform, to say no to you on another one is harder. So by supporting us on Steam, you're making an argument for us to go to like Microsoft and Sony and say that the game should be on their platforms. If the game doesn't do well on Steam, it's almost the opposite. It makes it very easy for them to say, why would we want this here when it didn't do well over there. Are the dragons going to be back? Yes. What's my vision for the game? The first thing I want to do is make a modern-looking version of the CastleMiner Z in the Xbox game, and then I want a world that feels exciting to explore. Just not only exciting to physically explore, but the things that you encounter and the things that you can build. And like I said, my vision was always sort of like a 3D Terraria, which was a world that you could explore in width and in depth, and you kept finding unique enemies that would give you elements to build unique items, where in that game the progression is through crafting and the discovery of new items, and that was what I was going for. Okay, let me pop over and make sure I'm getting all the TikTok questions too. We're getting a lot of the same. When is it coming out? The game is supposed to be at the end of this year. Like there's 4 of us working as hard as we can on this, doing this full time. Is there going to be armor? The lack of armor in the original game was a deliberate decision because you had a recovering health bar. I had been playing a lot of Call of Duty Zombies, and I kind of like the way that the Call of Duty health system worked, where it's like you could be knocked back and brought back. But it's possible, like I want to do stuff with building, crafting useful items to wear. So it is possible that post-release we would come out with an armor system. Are you considering optimizing sets of games towards Steam Deck? I'd like to support Steam Deck. I don't really know what's involved with it right now, but Unreal has a method of pulling back all the features until you can hit the platform that you're on. So we will definitely be trying to do that for other platforms. Somebody's asking about, again, what the price is going. I'm thinking about $20, but I'd like to hear your feedback on that. No promises there. Again, everybody's worried about the release date. Is it releasing on Steam? Yes. Please go to our website, CastleMinerZ.com, and wishlist us. Wishlist us, please. a lot of people are nostalgic about the game coming out, and I appreciate that. Like it was a big deal for me making this. Everybody's showing you have big muscles shredded. If you follow my Instagram, I'm really big into working out. I usually don't post that stuff on YouTube or TikTok, but like I'm in the gym every day. I post workout videos on Instagram. I could leave it up to you to find my Instagram and seek me out. I should probably do more, at least TikToks on working if you guys are interested in that. But yeah, I appreciate that. That's like the best compliment ever. So I can appreciate that. Are you gonna have any more guests on the stream? I keep trying to get the team on the stream. Nobody wants to do it. But I'm all for having guests on the stream. I would love it. If you guys have suggestions for guests, leave those in the comments or whatever. I would love to have more people on the stream. Again, if somebody's asking for the OG game, is this going to be a remaster of the OG game, or is this a sequel? The way I would say it's somewhere in between. Originally, we were just going to kind of remaster the original game, and then I wanted to fix a bunch of stuff, and then I wanted to add a bunch of stuff. So it's definitely a new game. It will be very similar, but I would say it's like somewhere in between a original game and a sequel. I think that my feeling was that if we just redid everything, it wouldn't have the nostalgia anymore. But if we didn't add anything, there would be no reason to play it. So there will be a somewhere in between. Has the crafting been changed dramatically, or will it still be like it was? I think the crafting will probably change. Definitely the UI will change for it. That's one of the things that it's likely to get redesigned. Somebody's asking for pre-orders on consoles, and this is way... somebody's asking about that. We're going back to the cuts for the game. Somebody's saying Steam. Steam has a 30% cut off the top. Like I don't, it doesn't change based on the amount of revenue that you make. Okay, where are we? Oh, somebody's asking here the pyramids. We did a lot of work on the pyramids. Yes, the pyramids are in the game, but I have them like temporarily taken out. I probably could like do a thing and show them off. Why don't we do that since there's so many new people in the game? It's something to show off here. I have to put the pyramids back into the game and do a build of it. But I had taken them out temporarily because I was trying to get some stuff working, and they need to be placed in the world in a certain way, and I hadn't written that code yet. Let me see if I run into any problem. I just changed like a major thing about the way that the dungeons were built in the game. And let me try to bring this up for you. Are you guys working on multiplayer right now? We are working on multiplayer right now. In general, in video games, multiplayer is kind of affects everything. So if you don't do multiplayer early in the game, you end up with, it's like a real rookie mistake. If you don't work on multiplayer early in the game, it ends up affecting everything, and you end up having to redo all the game anyways. So yeah, we're working on multiplayer right now. In fact, I think we'll be working on multiplayer almost exclusively for a long time. I'm getting a warning here in Unreal, so I'm gonna be a couple seconds before I can get this up. Somebody's asking for Patreon-only dev streams. It's possible I could do that. What system requirements we'll be looking at in a PC? The quantum computer. That's what I keep saying. No, seriously. I don't know at this point. We are relying a lot on real-time ray tracing, so some card that supports an RTX is probably going to be preferable, although there'll probably be some fallback if that doesn't, if you don't have that. But I think the best experience is definitely going to be some RTX card. This is why we picked Unreal. We did test renders, and the ray tracing in Unreal was like far superior to the one in Unity, and the only way that I could get the look that I was looking for was through Unreal. I'm gonna make sure the game doesn't crash here before I switch over to the stream. Oh, and it totally does. Whoa. I had not... Here I am, like, coding blindly. I did a huge refactor here, and let me just switch. You guys can watch me do this. I did a huge refactor, and there was a bunch of changes that I needed to... Not even 100% sure that this is right, but hopefully that'll work. I can switch back in the meantime. Somebody's asking here if a 2060 will run it. I don't know. I know a 3060 will run it. Oh, we still got bugs. Still got bugs. Here is me coding while doing a live stream. But I think that on some level you'll be able to play the game. It just might not be the exact same thing. Let me pop over to TikTok, as making sure I'm getting all the... Are you adding any bosses, any enemies? Yeah, we're definitely going to be adding new enemies. I was asking when it's coming out. When it's coming out, it's Q4 of this year is what we're saying. I'm hoping. Somebody says it will be Game Pass. Like, I would like to know that it's going to make it to the Xbox, period. Can we use our Xbox avatar? Most definitely not. I don't think that's I actually don't think it's a thing anymore. So, okay, let me see if we got this. Oh, okay, good. Let's switch back here, and we'll go into our pyramid land. You know what I'm going to do here is, I think because there's so many people that are new to the stream, let's just teleport out to the lagoons here. One of the big things here is that we have water in the game now, along with the flowing lava, and this is actually a good place to see all the water. They have these waterfalls, flowing water, and we have pools of water that pools in the game. And this is new. This is kind of what I wanted the lagoons to look like originally, but we had removed the water from CastleMiner Z for technical reasons. And you know what I'm going to do here is I'm going to... Oh, there's a zombie. We spent a lot of time working on little things too, like the way that blocks crack. This was something I wanted everything to feel like old but realistic at the same time. So you could see like the pieces of the... I thought this was kind of cool. This was like something I insisted on with the other ones, but I wanted everything to feel like you were in a blocky but realistic environment. But let's... here's what I can do here is a couple things. Let's change the time of day to like dusk. and we will fly out to the desert, and I have a whole bunch of pyramids placed out there. See, we got our dramatic sunset happening. That might have been, I didn't want this to be that dark. Let's take the time back. It'd be cool if you could do that in real life. Are they out here? Oh, there they are. Okay. One of the cool things we have in here is here are the. It's interesting that these pyramids, and we have this procedural dungeon system. So when we enter the pyramids, there's procedural dungeons inside. And there is a system where these are connected. So if I go through this dungeon, here it is. There's a stairway down to an underground dungeon where there's cave systems, and if we explore enough, we'll find another stairway that takes us up to another pyramid. They're actually connected underground. This is going to be kind of hard to find. There was a game, CastleMiner Dungeons, I wanted to make, and I feel like this is sort of like the beginning pieces of this. So either that will become a thing, or we will roll the functionality of the dungeon game into this. But we did several streams where we made these procedural dungeons, which is a completely new thing in the CastleMiner world. What's cool is you could build, we can... I think these are some old school skeletons in here. Yeah. Let's turn some sound up. And a lot of we're still working on our animations. It's the old, I don't know if you can hear that, the old zombie noise. Anyways, let's find, see if we could find a stairway out of here if we just get lucky. It's kind of cool that the caves connect, the cave systems connect up through the dungeons here. It was kind of cool how they penetrate each other. God, I'm totally lost. I'm just kind of hoping that I'm going to randomly come across one of those stairways. There should be a lot of them. But I don't think it's going to happen. Let me just dig my way out of here. I should use the real digging. We have like a quick dig. But and I have a fake light on here. Oh, that came up inside of a pyramid, maybe? I think. Yeah. Didn't really travel that far. But, yeah, I have a bunch of pyramids that are set up here in the desert just to test them out. They would never be like this for real. Interesting to me. I have something messed up here because this pyramid's door is in a different place than it should be. Anyways, let me get back to the, let's get back to the chat because that's what we're here for. Let me make sure I'm getting the TikTok. What kind of character do you play with in the game? We don't have that figured out yet, so it will not be the SWAT guys. That's the thing I can almost tell you for sure. Is this a remake, a remaster? Kind of. It's definitely a remake. Kind of a sequel. Will there be custom player models eventually? Not for the initial Steam release, but eventually we'd like this. Can we add zombie dogs? That actually sounds really cool. I should put that on my list. Zombie dogs would be really cool. Somebody said, yo, is this for real? It is totally 100% for real. What got you into game development? So that's an interesting story. I started developing games when I was 5 years old. My father was a engineer, and a lot of his friends worked in the arcade industry in the 1980s. And he felt like, I think it was, I'm pretty old. Like I'm going to be 50 years old here in just a week or two. When I was 5, I think it was like 1980, and my dad decided that computers were going to be an interesting thing, and that and he just had a love for games, and his friends were engineers in the arcade industry, so he taught me how to program when I was 5 years old, and I started making video games immediately. I think I made my first game when I was like 6 or 7. It was a text-based adventure game, and then I continued programming for my whole life, and by the time I was in high school, I was experimenting with AI and computer graphics. I actually have this story about writing an AI program back in 1990 that did all of my history homework for me and let me pass history, which I was definitely going to fail if I didn't do that. But game development was always sort of my thing, and I was developing games. I developed since we're playing videos, I can do this. I developed one of the first big games I made was a game that was similar to Mortal Kombat. It was a digital video fighting game called Travelers. And let me see, I'm going to bring it up and we can watch the video together. And as a result of that, a friend of mine, someone who became a friend of mine, found this, I got introduced to him, and we ended up making a game together. And he ended up going, his name is Doc Mack, and he ended up building the biggest arcade in the world, which is in Chicago, which is, if you're ever in Chicago, go check that out. I'm watching an ad here on my own video, but here, let's flip over to this. So this was my first game. I don't think it's running the same way it did, but I captured a video of it. This was like the opening credits to it. This was a flashlight and a globe that I was holding over my hand, and this was I think in 1993 or 94. And we don't have to watch this whole thing. You can watch this on our YouTube channel. But it was a digital video fighting game that looked kind of like this. It made similar to the way that Mortal Kombat. And I had the honor of working with the Mortal Kombat guys later in my career. Was a huge fan of Mortal Kombat. But I filmed this in my garage with costumes that we made at home, and eventually kind of started my professional gaming career. When I got out of college, I had made a bunch of games, and the game industry kind of was very welcoming to me. I ended up working for FASA Interactive in Chicago, and FASA was acquired by Microsoft, and I ended up working for Microsoft Game Studios in the early 2000s when they were creating the Xbox. I bounced around a little bit and created Digital DNA in 2009, and that's kind of all I've done since then. But thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Let's make sure I'm getting all... Can you add a feature where a player turns into a zombie upon death? That actually sounds pretty cool. I'd like to think more about how that would work. Somebody said the mountains and the tundras need more love. I'd be curious what you would like to do with the mountains and the tundra to make it more interesting. Are you planning on adding avatar customization? I think we've said this several times, is that the not on release, but eventually. Somebody said bring back Avatar Warfare. Would love to do that. Laser Wars is the one everybody wants, and I think that if this does well, I think that there's definitely a chance that we could remaster Laser Wars. I think Laser Wars would be the first one to remaster. It would be really great. Somebody's asking about a lore. We really are talking a lot about the lore of the world right now because we're trying to add a lot more design to the game. So it's interesting that people are bringing this up. Is the alien world back? Yes, the alien biomes are back. I'm actually thinking about more things that we could do with the aliens. I think there's going to be possibly 2 races of aliens, if not more. And I'm thinking about doing more with the crash sites. Is the owner adding sharks to the game? I am the owner, and I've thought about adding some underwater creatures, but again, I don't usually talk about things until they're done. Are we going to have loot boxes, a chest, or something else? There may be loot, but it'll work differently than the game does on the PC. I was never quite a big fan of that. Would you ever make a mummy boss? Something I've definitely thought about. Have we designed a new dragon? No, we are in the process of designing dragons. I think it's likely that the dragons each might have a very different design from each other. But they'll definitely be there. Somebody's asking. Somebody's asking about the NFTs. Like I bid some MSTs of the box, and somebody said they tried to buy them and they couldn't. I guess maybe I just don't understand the system well enough because I don't really remember anybody actually bidding on them. There is some NFTs of the original CastleMiner box and stuff floating around. They're mine. They're real. They're legitimate. I have not sold them. I'm still holding on to all of them. Will there be dragons in the lagoon? Yes, there will be a dragon in the lagoon. Will there be disasters like a tornado, volcano, tsunami? There's weather, but not disasters. That's a really interesting. That's a really interesting thing. That's a good suggestion. I love to hear suggestions like this. A lot of times they do make it like the pyramids were a suggestion that came in during one of the streams. So I love to hear your suggestions. It's hard to get them here, so if you really want to give us suggestions, go to CastleMinerZ.com and go to one of the forums, either the Steam forum or something, and put the suggestions in. We have several places on our Discord channel or on Steam. But I like to hear everybody's suggestions, and a lot of the suggestions, actually most of the things in the game, I think, came from some user suggestion at some point. Let me just pop over to TikTok really fast and make sure that I'm getting. It sucks that I can't see the TikTok comments at the same time as everybody else. Spec requirements to run the game. It wouldn't be useful for me to put specs out right now. What I keep saying is that you'll probably need a RTX video card. But that's the only thing that I am saying right now. Unreal Engine, we use C++ or Blueprint. We are using C++ for almost everything. The reason is because C++ is very fast and Blueprint is very, very slow. So one of the things that I was surprised by when people started hearing that we used Unreal Engine is everybody was afraid that it would be slow. Which is strange because Unreal Engine is very performant. So what I realized is that there's a lot of games out there in Unreal Engine that are made with Blueprint that are probably really, really slow. But I think that like 90% of our stuff is C++. This is the reason why we chose this to start with. Are there going to be new variants of enemies? Yes. Will there be new guns in the later updates? Definitely. Wait, this guy is the guy who made CastleMiner. Yes, this is the guy who made CastleMiner. Oh, okay, so we say Q4 2025. That is the fourth quarter of the year in 2025. So basically what we're committing to there is releasing the game by the end of the year. So I didn't realize that people didn't realize what that meant, but that's what it means, by the end of 2025. That's an estimate. I really, really hope it's true. But, you know, it's like we're trying to create a good product here and give you the best thing possible. Somebody said here, is there any tips in trying to get into the same career that you're in? The best thing I could suggest to you is, especially in this day and age, is to make things. So, you know, download Unity and, you know, make little games and actually release them. Like, don't just make them and not show them to anybody. Like, make them and release them, whatever it is, on the iPhone or Steam. It's really easy these days to release on those platforms. And the process of doing that will do two things for you. It, first of all, will make you better at doing it. You'll get real feedback from people. You might actually make money doing it and not have to worry about getting into a career. It's also visible evidence to other people in the industry that you're good at what you do. So when we would hire people in places, this was always the most important thing to me, was to see what people had made in the past. By the way, everyone always complains if I click off the screen here, the game gets laggy because Unreal Engine like saves processing power, but that's not actually how it runs. Like, this is like, it's running fine. It's when I click away for the comments here, is that you can see right now if I click away from the screen, I get like a choppy frame rate. So I always get tons of these comments on these videos that are like, you know, oh, the game runs really laggy, and it's just because I didn't have the window active. But anyways, career tips. Yeah, so make games. And when we were hiring people, I'd always want to see what they had made on their own. So that's how I got hired in the industry. I had made a bunch of little games, and the people, when I went to shop them around in the game industry, they were like, "Oh wow, like you obviously can make games by yourself. Like, you know, come aboard." I would say to you, the game industry is kind of a horrible place to work, like the pro game industry. In fact, yesterday there was a whole bunch of layoffs at Microsoft Xbox. In my career, I was being laid off about every 2 years. So one of the reasons I did this was because it was the most stable thing that I ever did, because at least I could make decisions for myself. So if you can make games and make them on your own and make money, that's way better than being in the industry. But that's a really good question. I appreciate this. Do you need donations to help fund this? Yes. Go to CastleMinerZ.com and sign up for our Patreon or our Kickstarter. It makes a huge difference for us. Like right now, this is all self-funded. We don't have a publisher, so any money that we can get from the community to help us is like greatly appreciated. A a lot of love from the community. It's like, I know I don't give these comments enough justice, but a lot of people, like, you know, that the game made an impact on them. They're excited to see it back. I appreciate that, because that keeps us going. Like, it's really the hardest thing in the world is to make a game that you don't know if anybody is going to actually see. And the fact that, you know, there are people that are already interested in it is a cool thing. Any vehicles? We've talked about this. We will not ship with vehicles, but everybody kind of wants to add vehicles later. Somebody's talking about Roblox Studio as a programming platform. I know my daughters are doing that right now. I don't know a whole lot about it, but it seems like I'm imagining that there's probably really good tools in there. So I'm getting a lot of the same questions from before. I think we're hitting the 2-hour mark here. I think I'm going to probably wrap up the stream here pretty soon. Again, I appreciate everybody coming by. I'll do more of these. Like, if you're new to this completely, like, typically I have 2 different types. I realize the TikTok title now is incorrect. I usually have 2 different types of streams. I have streams where I answer questions, and then I have streams where I do work, and you can watch me implement parts of the game. I'm going to try to schedule these better than I have in the past. And I can do some real work while I'm on here. It's hard to do both. It's hard to answer questions. Like, usually if I'm doing work, I do a bad job at answering questions. And if I'm answering questions, I do a bad job at doing work. Somebody said they dropped Minecraft at the time because they thought this was cooler. I appreciate that. My experience was I played Minecraft and I just kind of wished that they had focused more on combat. And I wanted to make something that did that instead of focusing on building, to focus on combat. I really appreciate everybody's support. Like, the support for this has been growing, and it's making a lot of things easier for us. I mean, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, like, you know, how many people would actually be interested in this, and it's not really obvious to us what that answer is. And it's scary because all of us are kind of putting our lives on hold and at risk to make this, and we're just hoping that there's enough people that are interested in the product in the end. So the growing interest in this is very good. If you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, that is something that's very helpful to us. Wishlist the game. These are all ways for you to let us know that you're interested in the game. And of course, your financial support is appreciated incredibly. People are asking about crossplay. I really don't. I don't know. Somebody asked if my daughters are going to play it. I have 2 daughters. They're 9 and 12. They're both really into video games, and it's interesting because CastleMiner Z came around before they were born, and they watch a lot of YouTube videos about video games. So they run into my stuff every once in a while. So it's like this weird thing. This weird, like, you know, where people on the internet, you know, will talk about the game from time to time. And it's kind of like, especially now as they're getting older and they're getting more aware of, like, what games are and what is going on. It would be weird if they played the game. The only person that played the game a lot excessively in my family was my father. He played tons and tons of all of our games. Actually, he was a really big supporter up until he died around 2018. But it would be interesting if my daughters would play the games. I don't know. I know they're interested. They played a lot of Minecraft. They play a lot of Roblox. And I'm kind of curious to see. I'm not going to push it on them, though. Somebody said they got the game when they were 13 and they're 27 and still play. I appreciate that. What color are your socks? They're white. If I could personally add something to the game, what would it be? First of all, I can't. I can add things personally to the game. I think that question is more about like an ultimate wish list thing. Oh God, there's so much. Like there's like so much stuff I'd like to. I'm reluctant to answer this question because a lot of the stuff actually might make it in. Somebody said if you were starting out to learn the programming code, how would you do it? I would take Unity and download all the tutorials and follow them through. There's like hours and hours of tutorials, and I think that you would get pretty far into programming that way. Also, AI is really good. Like go to GPT or Grok and ask questions about how to do things. It's like having an expert that can answer all your questions at any time. Like it's an amazing learning tool. Okay. Have I played 7 Days to Die before? I have actually. Not a whole lot, but I have played it. I always describe that product as like CastleMiner Z with an infinite budget. Like they were had a lot at the time that they were making it. They had a lot more money to make it than we did. It's a great product. It was well put together. Okay, let me flip over and make sure I got the last TikTok questions here. Will the supporters get special items for supporting? It's possible. We don't have that planned out right now, and I'm reluctant to promise that because I don't know how to give them out right now. Like I don't know, and I'm afraid to promise something that I can't physically deliver. Like I don't know how exactly I connect the Patreon people to Steam accounts and things like that. So I have to figure all that stuff out. And a lot of people are concerned with what we are when we're releasing, and I'm concerned too. I would like to. I wish I could know. I'm really anxious. I'd love to be on the other side of this. I'd love to be on the place where the game is out, and we were talking about adding features versus what happened. So we're rounding out 2 hours here. About an hour and 50 minutes. I appreciate everybody coming by. I think I'm going to do one more plug before we go for the various ways that you can support the game. Again, go to CastleMinerZ.com. Let's put the link in the chat again. Make sure that wishlist the game. If you're interested, click it right now. Like follow the link right now. Wishlist the game. You can sign up for the beta. Kickstarter, Patreon, you can sign up right now. Kickstarter, you can sign up to be notified for. You can buy merch. We can flip this one more time. It's fun stuff. All the proceeds for this go to the development of the game. If you want to wear merch around, I got a Z tank on right now. I was just at the gym with that. Let me link our YouTube channel too, so that you can like, follow, subscribe, all of that. Here, I'm always afraid of what's going to happen when I do this stuff. I put the link to the YouTube channel in there. A lot of people here on YouTube, but we just hit 8,000 subscribers. I really appreciate that. That's super cool. Let's see if that, we can keep going with that. So if you're here and you're interested in what's going on, follow us on YouTube. That's where we've been doing most of our stuff so far. I don't know if these links are getting to TikTok. Let me make sure I just copy some of these over. Here I'm restreaming right now to several different places, and I'm not sure that I'm getting all of the place. Somebody's asking if I developed the original. Yes, I did develop the original with some help from my friends who are developing the remake. Thanks for CastleMiner Z. You made my childhood better. I appreciate that. When you're a game developer, people playing your games is sort of the best reward that there is. Somebody's saying here they got their Z hoodie. They got their Z hoodie, and they like the embroidered stuff. The hoodies on that merch site, I have. Hold on a second. Let me just grab one really fast. Yeah, I got one here myself. They're really cool. They're embroidered. These aren't showing up for some reason on the cameras. They're embroidered, really high quality, really great stuff. The whole thing, it's like a really high quality hoodie. If you pick one up on the merch site, you will not be disappointed. I also have I got one of the Z print or the CastleMiner Resurrection t-shirts here that you can see. That's cool stuff. I think there's a Patreon. I think the high level of Patreon, one of the levels you get merch sent to you right away. So if you would rather do that, then that's something you can do too. Somebody asked if the old game would ever come back to stores because I'm dying to play it again. You can go to Steam right now and play the old game. People are buying it still. So if you just go to Steam and look up CastleMiner Z, it's there. Will it come to the Xbox? Probably not. The hoodies are on the merch website. If you go to CastleMinerZ.com to the merch tab, the hoodies are in there. I was CastleMiner Z plushies. I've thought about it. It's funny. I was looking at the process of making the plushies. Will this ever come to PS5? Hopefully, up to Sony and you guys more than it is up to us. A lantern plushie. That would be good. Yeah, lantern plushie. I was. Somebody's asking why doesn't Xbox have CastleMiner anymore? Here's what happened. Microsoft killed that platform. So what happened was Microsoft released an indie game system that you needed to use XNA, which was their technology to build games for that system. XNA wasn't cross-platform. It only kind of worked on the Xbox and barely worked on the PC. It was never intended to work on the PC. When Microsoft came out with the Xbox One, they killed support for XNA and they took the store down eventually. So this wasn't like a decision that we made. It was Microsoft having a really common thing that Microsoft does is where they take a technology, they kind of force you to use it, and then they withdraw support from it later on. So because CastleMiner was made with this proprietary Microsoft technology, it was very, very difficult for us to move it to other places. And then eventually Microsoft stopped supporting XNA on the Xbox and removed the store from the Xbox. So that's why it's not there. For CastleMiner to make its way back to the Xbox, like the original one, it would have to be completely rewritten in a new technology. And that's what we're doing right now. Like that is literally the goal of this product. So there are two paths we could have went with that. One of them is rewriting the whole game and try to make it look exactly like the old game just to bring it back to the Xbox, which would essentially be redoing everything to bring it back. Or we could make it better, and that's what we chose to do, is try to make the same game, but with the taking advantage of the new technology as much as possible to make it as better as possible. So like when people say bring the old game back to Xbox, like that is like literally what we're doing right now. Like that is the whole process. So hopefully we can release the game on Steam and people will like it, support it, buy it, and we can use that revenue to do the port and bring it back to Xbox and hopefully PlayStation at the same time. This is sort of like the only path for us. Like it isn't possible for us to just bring the old game back to Xbox. And the choice we made early or last year when we started working on this was that instead of just making the same exact game and bringing it back to Xbox, that we would, since we were using new technology, we would take advantage of the new technology. So that's what we're doing, and that's what you can see in our screenshots or whatever. And then there was this question of whether or not it should be the same game or something different, and it's like new and different. It's the resurrection, you know, like this is the, so I mean everybody, like we're doing the thing that everybody keeps asking for. We're doing it. Again, somebody's asking about the price point, and I'm thinking $20, but I would love to get as much feedback on that as possible. Somebody's asking when the game launches, will it have the meteor and alien stuff? Yeah, that's in there already. That's if you watch some of our other streams, you can see that that stuff is in there. I actually want to do more with that, not less. Somebody said, making a joke about will the Xbox be around in the future, and after Microsoft did their layoffs the other day, that's a very, very good question. Working in the game industry sucks. Like what happens is you work day and night for like 2 years straight making a game, and then they lay you off immediately after. And this has happened to me like 4 or 5 times. Everybody that's worked in the industry, it's happened. Like you work and you work and you work, and when the game comes out, they lay you off. And then you go find another company, another product, you get interested in it, you work a whole bunch, and then they lay you off. So the guys that are on the team right now have all gone through this, and they're all sick of it, and we would just like to be doing the digital DNA indie thing from now on instead of getting fired every 2 years as the reward for hard work. And so the guys working with me are like the best in the industry, and what is going to come out of this will be amazing. So I think, let me see, let me go make sure I'm getting all the TikTok stuff. Somebody's asking about beta testing over here. Go to our website, CastleMiner Z.com, and sign up for beta testing. The earlier that you do this, the better chance you have in. If you want to make sure you're getting into the beta test, become a Patreon supporter, and that will, there's a contribution level that ensures that you will be in the beta. So if you're worried about that, you can always do that. That's at CastleMinerZ.com. All of those links are over there. I appreciate this. Okay, I'm going to I'm going to take off here. I appreciate everybody dropping by, and we'll do some more dev streams. I know I've been bad about this recently. There's been a lot of stuff going on with my life and the holiday, but I appreciate that people are showing up for these things, and we will do another stream. Probably another development stream in the near future. So I appreciate this. Thank you. And I'm going to leave here on the trailer. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.